Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Icon Online. I'm so glad to have all of you here this morning. I hope that you are all having a fantastic morning, that you had a great, just a really good and restful weekend. Happy April. It's the first Sunday in April. I don't know about you, but it felt like to me that March just lasted forever. So I'm glad that we're welcoming in a new month. So happy April, happy Sunday. I hope everyone is doing well. Just have a couple of things to go over this morning before we get into worship with Arlene and then today's message with Pastor Amanda. She's going to be speaking this morning. Just a couple of things. If you are new, if maybe this is your first Sunday ever tuning in, and if so, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. We love to just to hang out with some new folks, and we love to see some new faces and new comments in the comment section. But if you are new, we would love to invite you to fill out a Connect card. And this is just basically, it really just serves the purpose of us having your information, like your email, so that we can keep you up to date on everything that we have going on around here at Icon. So you'll get just one email each week, just kind of filling you in on, if there's any events going on, or if we're having an in-person service, or just to kind of give you some more information so that you can stay up to date on the things that we have going on. So feel free to go ahead and click on the connect button in the chat and then fill that card out so that we can stay connected with you. And then secondly, one thing that, when we're not together in person every week, there are times where I think a lot of us miss the ability to be able to join together in person and to pray with one another. So if you need some prayer this morning, we still want to be able to do that even though we're online. And so there is actually a prayer button that will pop up in the chat that you can click on that, and it will take you to a separate window where one of our hosts can meet with you. You can let them know what it is that you want them to pray for, and then you can know that you have some solidarity and support and have someone to pray with you. So if you need some prayer this morning, whatever it may be, just click on that prayer button and we will be able to pray with you. And then lastly, we say this all the time, but just for everyone who continues to give toward Icon, thank you so much. We know that it's no secret that that's how churches exist, is by those of us who are a part of it, pooling our resources together, giving what we're able so that we can see the work of the church continue. So we just have so many incredible, generous people who are part of this community. So thank you for your giving. And if you would like to give this morning, there is also a give button in the chat that you can just click on that, and it will take you to a place where you can do that. And then also, as usual, as we say all the time too, we really, really desire to be a blessing and a benefit, not only to our community at large, but to all of you who are a part of this Icon faith community. So if you have some kind of a financial need, maybe there's things have been tight, maybe you've lost a job. We've all been there. We've all been through seasons where money is tight and where it seems as if just there's more expenses than we have income. And if you find yourself in a place like that, we would love to be able to give you some assistance. And so if you have some financial needs, feel free to email us at info@iconchurch.com and just let us know, what the needs are, and we can get in touch with you and kind of assess that and see how we can best partner alongside you and help you to meet those needs. So here in a second, we're going to go into a time of worship with Arlene. And if you are new and you have yet to hear Arlene sing, you are in for a treat, because she is fabulous and just has this heart that genuinely loves God and wants to help create just a space and a moment for us to be able to have a meaningful time of connection with the divine. So, and also if maybe singing, worship songs, maybe that isn't your thing, or maybe it makes you a little uncomfortable, or, maybe for some of you, you've gone through some painful situations in church, and maybe that's something that's kind of difficult for you right now, I just want to let you know, like, that's totally okay. If you want to just kind of turn the volume down or, walk away for a few minutes and then come back after the worship, that's totally fine for you to do that. And also, if this is a time that is really meaningful for you, I just invite you to, in whatever way is most comfortable for you, whether you want to sing along or whether you want to just be silent and kind of listen to the words as Arlene sings them, and just find a moment of peace to be able to connect with God, just in whatever way feels best for you. So we're going to go ahead and worship together, and then after that we will come back here for a message from Pastor Amanda. So let's worship together.
Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you, we live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you, we live for you. Can't go back to the beginning. Can't control what tomorrow will bring. But I know here in the middle is the place where you promised to be. I'm not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? As I walk now through the valley, let your love rise above every fear, like the sun shaping the shadow. In my weakness, your glory appears. I'm not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want I'm not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? Yes. Meet me here again. Yes, yes.
Hey everyone, good morning. I am so glad you're here, and I am going to start off today's message with a question for you. Go ahead and let me know in the comments. The question I have for you is, have you ever gone on a road trip and you had a plan in your mind of what it would be like? And then somewhere in the middle of the road trip, things kind of took a turn, and it didn't turn out quite the way you thought it was going to turn out. And whether that was like you blew a flat tire or got into an accident or ate something at a truck side stop that you probably shouldn't have eaten, whatever that is, go ahead, feel free to comment. Maybe it was a big thing, maybe it was a little thing. I just need to feel a little bit of solidarity as I get ready to share my story with you guys, because it was way different than what I had planned on a road trip. So go ahead and write your answers in the comments. If you haven't, congratulations. Either one, you need to travel more, or two, you are the best road traveling buddy. Let's connect, okay? So here's my story. I accepted a position to come work at Icon years ago, 5-6 years ago. And I had previously been living in Seattle, Washington. And to get from Seattle, Washington to Texas, I had to make a really long drive across the country. It spanned over a few days. And I was driving down in my car, and then my dad had flown up, and he helped me pack everything up, and he was going to drive the moving truck behind me and follow me to make sure I was okay. And then also, one of the parents of one of my youth students was like, hey, we don't want you to drive down by yourself. We're going to send our student with you, and they're going to make this road trip with you, and it'll be great. It'll be special. They absolutely love you. It's going to be fantastic, which for the most part, it absolutely was. Which leads me to the point where it kind of took a turn, and by turn, I mean literal turns, that I was not anticipating. So the first little hitch in our plan is that I was so immersed in conversation with my youth student that was driving in the passenger seat with me that I actually missed our first exit, and my dad's just following me. He's trusting me to know where I'm going because I usually know exactly where I'm going. But in this instance, I was so distracted in conversation with this student, talking about what college they were going to go to, talking about what they were excited for, how much they're going to miss me, like all that stuff. And I totally missed our exit by miles, multiple miles. And we were going in the wrong direction for miles. So then we had to turn around, make a little detour, and in making that detour, hit a bit of a rocky patch that did not feel awesome on the bottom of my car. So I was panicking, thinking the absolute worst, thinking something is going to break and my car's going to explode. That's immediately where my mind went. So, that's what we're starting off with. But we were fine up until we were driving through Utah. And I don't know if you've ever driven through Utah, but there's a lot of canyons that you drive through to get from Seattle to Texas. And there's a lot of rocky patches of land. And anyway, it was late at night and we're driving through the canyons and there's no streetlights, obviously. And all I have is my little Nissan Versa's little baby headlights. Okay. They're not like super size headlights to get you through like foggy snow, like all that stuff. Like they are compact car headlights and they get the job done in the city. So driving through Utah, all of these canyons, and it is late at night. Like we're talking like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock ish. And I'm feeling like, yeah, I take road trips all the time. I'm great at driving. I love this. What I did not realize was that there's a certain part when we were driving through the canyons that, number one, there's no lights except for my car's headlights that only go so far. But then also there's really sharp turns on this like mountainside that we're driving on. And I don't know about you guys, I'm typically a good nighttime driver. Typically really good. But there's not even like a light for miles. Like I can see next to nothing in front of me, and I am so nervously scared that I am going to drive us off a cliffside. And it is just to the extreme panic running through my mind. But I'm trying to play it cool because I want this youth kid to know, like, I am a strong, capable person. I can drive in the dark. I know what I'm doing. And there was a certain part where we were getting a little close to the edge and I could tell like things were getting a little shaky, and then I saw my lights showing me that, oh no, we're really close to the edge and I didn't see this coming. And I remember I just stopped the car, and thankfully my dad stopped behind us, and thankfully no one was behind us because it's like 10, 11 o'clock in this canyon, right? And I just break down crying. I am just a mess of tears and panic and anxiety and fear, and I just lose it. And so then we're like, in the middle of the road, and we cannot stay there because what if another vehicle comes after us? So we've got our hazard lights on, and my dad comes and he goes, hey, I want you to let the student drive your car, which they're like a senior, so it's fine. Let them drive your car and ride in the truck with me, and I will lead the way. And I was just so sad and so overwhelmed. And then finally, I was just breaking down, and I finally just admitted defeat, and I admitted I need help. I need help to see what's in front of me because I cannot see what is in front of me, and it is so scary, and I don't want anyone to get hurt, but I also want to make sure that we make good time on the road. And so my dad was like, hey, get in the big moving truck, which has bigger, brighter lights. You guide me to where we're going next. And then, because I had like the printout map and he was just following me, you guide me to where we're going, because there's like no cell service, by the way. And I will get us there, and the student will follow in your car, and we're going to make it to the hotel, and we're just going to relax, and it's going to be okay. And he's like talking me off this emotional ledge, and I'm just like, I should be strong enough to do this. I am a big girl. I know what to do. I know how to drive. And he was like, I know you know how to drive, but I want you to get in the big truck because we can see farther in the truck with the big lights than you can in your little car with the little lights. And we did. I got in. I was a mess of tears, but I got in the big moving truck, and he led the way, and I let him take all the sharp turns in that giant moving truck. And my student was following behind us, and we all made it to the hotel safe and sound. And it was like just this giant sigh of relief that we had made it to our destination. And I did not see that coming. I did not see this late night panic attack in the canyons of Utah coming up on my trip itinerary. And I'm a planner. I love to plan. I plan trips all the time. Big fan. But when something comes my way that I was not ready for, it can very easily take me for a loop. And in that moment, it really was a situation where I was just so vulnerable and broken down, and I was like, I need help. I need help seeing what's in front of me. And so as we write down our comments about the road trips that went astray and took a turn that we weren't ready for. Just as much as I'm reading them, feeling like I'm in solidarity with you guys, like just know that you have a sister in arms who has also had a really rough road trip experience. It might not be as extreme as some of yours, but I hope it contributes to the fact that we have all had some kind of situation where we have felt out of control, where we felt like we had to pivot really quick, where we have felt that things were just a mess, and it took us a second to figure out how to make it better. So there's that. But really, what I wanted to focus on was this understanding that when we can't see the big picture in front of us, when we can't see the full road ahead, it can be very overwhelming. It can be very stressful. It can make you panic and think things that you thought you would never think about before in your life. And it really catches you off guard. And today, as we talk about Jesus as the light of the world, I want us to think about those moments in our lives where we can only see so far ahead, and we want to see the bigger picture, and then take note of those times where we actually do get to the other side and we realize, like, oh, a while back I should have switched vehicles and let the bigger light go forward instead of just trying to do it on my own with my little bitty light. And I just want us to kind of keep those thoughts in mind as we walk through today's message. So as we look at scriptures today, I want you to go ahead and take a look at John 8 verse 12. When we talk about Jesus being the light, this is kind of the focus of where we're going to be at today, is John chapter 8 verse 12. And it says this, it says, "When Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, 'I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life.'" And so when I read this verse and Jesus says, "Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness," that sounds like a great idea. Count me in, but also, where are we following you to? Because I want to know where I'm going. I want to know where I'm headed. I want to know where Jesus is leading. And so the more we read that passage and even jump into John chapter 9, we really discover this amazing arc of where Jesus is leading us. And so overall, reading that scripture and asking myself these questions, I have come to believe that Jesus is paving a path to freedom and healing for everybody. And I don't just mean physically, but healing of our mind, our spirit, just everything, right? And here's kind of where I came to that conclusion, is in John chapter 9, Jesus has just healed a blind man. And in that passage, he says, "But while I am here in the world," in verse 5, he says, "But while I am here in the world, I am the light of the world." So he's, again, reminding people, I am the light of the world, which doesn't just mean like he is like this illuminating beacon that's going to just like, you turn the light on, you turn the light off. It's like, I am the light of the world. Okay, that's great, but what does that mean right here and right now? What does that mean? And so when I continue reading the passage, he continues to define what that means. And in verses 39 through 41, he says this. It says, and then in verses, so as I read on and look a little closer at what the scripture has to say, he continues to define what that means in verses 39 through 41. And the Bible says, "Then Jesus told him, 'I entered this world to render judgment, to give sight to the blind, and to show those who think they see that they are blind.' Some Pharisees who were standing nearby heard him and asked, 'Are you saying we're blind?' And Jesus says, 'If you were blind, you wouldn't be guilty.' Jesus replied, 'But you remain guilty because you claim you can see.'" And so when I finished reading that passage from chapter 8 through chapter 9, it kind of occurred to me that Jesus was there to illuminate for the Pharisees the truth that was hiding in the darkness of their hearts. the parts that they didn't let others see, the legalistic, ritualistic, nationalistic, patriarchal heart that found delight in oppressing the vulnerable. He was bringing what was hidden in darkness into the light to show the Pharisees that they might actually be wrong in their approach, that they were making the wrong move, and that they were promoting a distorted view of God to the very people that they claimed God had called them to lead. And it's interesting when studying out that passage and looking at the Encyclopedia of the Bible, it says this. It says, "It is evident from these passages that enlightenment is the intellectual and moral effect produced upon a person by the reception of the Christian revelation. It is not a mere intellectual illumination or understanding of divine truth, for this spiritual insight manifests itself in ethical action." And when I read that it was more about not just showing them what was up, but giving them a direction to a more ethical action, it really kind of opened up the story to me. And I understood, it's not just about Jesus, being a light in the darkness, helping us find that next step on the path. Like, yes, absolutely, he does that. He guides us and leads us, and yes, and amen. But also doesn't just lead us to nothing, leads us to a more ethical action, leads us to move our faith into something that promotes a more Christ-like result. So how is Jesus still showing up as the light of the world for us today? I guess is my next question. And I asked this on social media, and one person messaged and said that they see Jesus showing up as the light of the world through their friends and through the support they get from their faith community. And then another person said that their prayer time is a way for them to see Jesus as the light of the world. Someone else said that they got a promotion that they had really been praying for, and they felt like Jesus was showing up as the light of the world to guide them into that. And I think it's interesting to take a look and introspectively ask ourselves, how is Jesus showing up as the light of the world for us today? Because I believe that Jesus is inviting us into a process of illumination and elimination of the darkness in and around us. He doesn't just want us to see the darkness in our hearts and in our minds and in some of our habits and practices, but he also wants us to see the darkness that's in the world around us and use us as a catalyst to stand up and step up for people and really make a difference in our neighborhood, in our families, in our communities, globally, right? This time during this prolonged pandemic has been one show of Jesus as light of the world. And what I have seen and heard personally and through others lived out in the white evangelical community is just ugly, and it's unchristlike. It's pharisaical darkness, and it breaks my heart. And when I was reading this passage, I could imagine Jesus being in the here and now and saying, hey, you think that you can see, and you are blind to the truth of what these people need. You are blind to the needs of the people around you because you're so concerned with how you look and if you get the preeminence and if you get the glory and all these things that you shouldn't have ever signed up for. But all that to say, it really does just break my heart. And at the same time, it gives me hope that as Jesus illuminates where we've fallen short, I mean, throughout this past 2 years, myself included, we can make it right. Because Jesus is not just showing us things to look at, he's giving us an opportunity to take some ethical actions. And that's what's so great about Jesus is he doesn't just point fingers and say, hey, you messed up. You should have done something better. But he says, try this, make it right by doing this, And so what's really interesting and what we're going to talk about today is some of the ways that Jesus illuminates and eliminates the darkness in us and around us. And I'm hoping that you will join me as we have a little bit of a tough conversation at times, but such a necessary conversation. First, I want to talk about some of the ways that we can let Jesus guide us as he illuminates things in our life. And a lot of that comes from us being willing to put ourselves in unique situations. It is very illuminating when you listen to the voices of those walking through vulnerable situations. So I really encourage you through this illuminating process to listen actively without judgment to the man who goes on his first date after his divorce. Listen actively without judgment to the woman trying to get pregnant after her second miscarriage. Listen actively without judgment to the person with a beloved transgender sibling, and to the person who was hurt by religious leaders, and to the person that is managing a mental health diagnosis. And when we allow ourselves to be on the listening end of those conversations without trying to fix it, without trying to offer our opinion, when you just let someone be heard, it is so illuminating. And it allows us to ask ourselves some tough questions. We have to keep asking ourselves tough questions and answer honestly. You have to be able to sit with yourself, look at yourself, and ask yourself honestly, where's pride showing up in my heart and in my life? What about selfishness? What about racism? What about homophobia or classism or ageism or ableism? What am I doing about this? How do I feel about this? What is my response, and what does it mean to love my neighbor through all of this? Another way to really see God illuminate things in your heart is to sit in the hot seat on a regular basis. And here's the thing. We are drawn to authentic, imperfect people, but we are scared to let people see who we really are. We have to get comfortable with not being comfortable. Then we have to make it right and take our next step towards the light and the fullness of life. And when we allow Jesus to sit with us and help us illuminate those things in the darkness of our heart and in the darkness of our mind, it is a step forward on a path to light and life abundant. And then where I love to see Jesus step in, once all that's illuminated, Jesus gives us an opportunity to eliminate that. And here's how we eliminate that. Number one, we advocate for the well-being of others in real-time experiences. It's like that famous New York saying, see something, say something, right? If you're in the grocery store, if you're in the PTA group, if you're in the workplace, if you're on your next door neighborhood app group and you see something that is hurtful to somebody else, or somebody that is belittling somebody, or saying something that is racially charged or homophobically charged or any of those things, see something, say something. Be someone's neighbor. Be someone who is willing to say, you know what? I'm going to advocate for this person. This does not sound right. This is not okay. We cannot treat people this way. It is okay to stand in the gap for somebody else who maybe feels overwhelmed in that moment, right? Another way that we can eliminate that darkness is to repent with humility for the ways that we have participated in perpetuating oppression and harm. Because where we step out of the light is when we lean into judgment and shaming, when we lean into minimizing or avoiding someone's lived experience, we step out of that light. We're stepping out of the light when we are comparing and competing when others share their lived experiences. And when we're gaslighting them, that is stepping out of the light. And we are not on a good path, because when we are sitting there and we say, that never happened, or, okay, it happened, but it wasn't that bad. When we start to gaslight people's lived experiences, that is not walking in the light. That is causing harm and oppression. That is not bringing freedom. That is not bringing wholeness to somebody else's life. Another thing to keep in mind when it comes to eliminating the darkness, in our hearts and in the world around us is to invest physically and monetarily in programs and causes that eliminate oppression and harm. And maybe there's an organization that you're really passionate about. Maybe it's a local one, maybe it's a global one. Whether it's Ukraine Aid, or maybe it's Austin Angels, or it's the NAACP, or the Trevor Project, or the Elahe Indigenous Earth Center. Whatever your program or cause is that you want to actually invest physically and monetarily into to help bring light and hope and equality and justice and remove oppression and harm, go for it. That's a way that we can eliminate that in our hearts and in the world around us. When we have an opportunity to love mercy and walk humbly and do justice and help shine that light in the darkness that Jesus is showing us, we can take big steps. And the last one I want to share is initiate crucial conversations to move the needle forward to freedom. Initiate crucial conversations to move the needle forward to freedom. And I know this is a tricky one because not everybody feels like speaking up all the time and not everybody is comfortable with confrontation. But in any event, you can start it off with a question. You could start the conversation lightly, and then as you feel comfortable, move into it. Have a series of conversations, but be a part of shining light in the darkness in the world around you. One of my favorite authors, Brene Brown, in her book, The Atlas of the Heart, she writes this. She says, "Choosing to be curious is choosing to be vulnerable because it requires us to surrender to uncertainty. We have to ask questions, admit to not knowing, risk being told that we shouldn't be asking, and sometimes make discoveries that lead to discomfort." And I can guarantee you that there will be times where Jesus illuminates something in your heart and in your mind, because I've been there, and you've been a little hesitant to start. You've been a little hesitant to do anything about it. You've been a little hesitant to touch it because it's really ugly at the time. But as you trust God to lead you through those next steps, and you let Jesus guide you through the middle of that darkness, in the middle of that mess, you are going to be jumping out of that tiny little car with the baby headlights into a bigger truck with beaming lights that are going to get you to a better destination. I just want to encourage you to keep looking for the light of the world in your daily life. Thank you for sharing time with me today. I hope you guys have a great week.
Well, thank you, Pastor Amanda, for bringing such an awesome message for us today. And thank you to all of you for joining us, for being a part of this community. It's something that I don't ever take for granted. And, just this past week, I've gotten a few messages just from some folks who have recently started coming to Icon, either virtually or sometimes, coming to our in-person services. And I'm just continually reminded how lucky we are to get to be a part of what we're a part of, how just what a real true blessing it is to be able to, for all of us to come together and to be continuing to create something really, really beautiful, to have a space where everyone truly belongs and is welcome and is included and is celebrated. It's really special, and I'm just so honored to get to walk alongside all of you and to get to continue to build this beautiful community with you. So with that said, I hope that all of you have a fantastic week. I hope that some of you are able to connect with one another this week and just to continue to build relationships and to have that point of connection and community. So I love you all so much. I hope you have a fantastic Sunday, and we will see you right back here online next week.